Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along for the ride is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How you doing, guys?
Fantastic.
All
Very
right.
good.
Okay, so as we are going into week 5, we've just completed the first 4 games of the season, making that first turn around the track. And there were some good games out there. There were some upsets out there. Some teams that were winless happened to take their get their first step or get their first win. And we're going to go through all of that in the first portion of the show. Middle portion, we're going to talk about where things stand in the league after the first 4 games. And then heading on to the back end, we're going to go ahead and do our predictions for the next for the upcoming week games. So if you guys are all ready, we are going to go ahead and kick this thing off real quick. First game on the docket is New Orleans hosting the New York Jets. And the Jets are still on a roll, and they ended up taking that game 32-22. We're going to start this week's off with Mitch.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, a very, very balanced offensive game for the Jets. Completely just ran up and down the field on the rushing game and on the passing game. Very complimentary. 75% completion percentage. I guess you can call that complimentary, but just overall balance was fantastic. I know Dean and I were talking prior to the show about an interesting stat in this game. I'll let him share that with you all. But another strong, balanced game for the Jets. So, Dean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I noticed that the Jets went 1-7 on third down conversions, but still completed 29 first downs. So the 1-7 looks kind of low, but you also have to look at the fact they only had to play third down 7 times in the entire game. So they were doing fairly well on first and second down and getting first downs and moving the chains.
Who needs third down when you can pick up your first down on first down, right, Dean?
That's right.
All right. Second game on the list. We have Jacksonville hosting New England, and New England falling and losing that one 26-23. They're in a little bit of a little skid right now. We'll start you on this one, Dean.
Yeah, this was an upset by Jacksonville. They get their first win of the season. Fairly close game. It's statistically very close. But I think we were looking at New England starting off the season 2-0, and now they've lost 2 games since, and now they're 2-2. So I think it's really raising some interesting questions about where this Patriots team is heading this season after that 2-0 start.
All right, Mitch.
Well, I'll tell you how they're not getting there, and that's on the ground. 54 pass attempts versus 13 rushing attempts against Jacksonville. Now, I will say, if you're going to throw it 54 times, you better connect. And they did connect for 407 yards. So, we'll give them that and no interceptions. But I think New England, if they can get back to a little bit more of that balanced attack, that can help. That can help keep that defense off the field since Jacksonville outgained them. Out first down them 24-18. So that could probably help that defense out. So, but that's my thoughts, Mom.
But they punted 7 times, and punting 7 times is not usually a recipe for winning.
Hence the only 18 first downs.
Yeah. I bowled on that one. That should have been our second to last game, but that's okay. We're going to keep it moving. We're not stopping the train. Next game that we have is Pittsburgh taking on Kansas City, and KC is on a roll. They took that one 14-10. We're going to start with you on this one, Dean.
Well, statistically, this was pretty even, and Pittsburgh played Kansas City tough. And, I think in that second half, Pittsburgh needed to just score one more time to pull off the upset. They didn't manage to do that, so Kansas City gets a really important win on the road.
All right, Mitch.
Yeah, I tell you what, that first half couldn't have been any uglier for my team for sure. Pittsburgh came out. I think they had Renegade playing, as they took the fields instead of the fourth quarter, and that first half was rough. But our PPP finally kicked in there in the second half, and I thought I was about to kind of put the nail in the coffin and go up 21-10. And then dadgummit if I didn't throw an interception in the end zone. And then I'm not biting my nails, hoping I can stop them on fourth down over on my side of the field. So a lot of emotion in this game. But I will say congratulations to Pittsburgh. You definitely showed up, and that was tough. I mean, no excuses. It was a tough game.
Yep, I would agree on that one. Next game that we have on the list is LA taking on Washington, and Washington was rolling up the numbers on there. Guys, are the Chargers in that was that post Super Bowl hangover? Because Washington took that game 34-7. We're going to start with Mitch on this. All right, is LA in that hangover mode?
No, Washington was just thinking this is what the Super Bowl should have been last year. So they took out their frustration, I think, on Los Angeles. But yeah, I mean, not much you could say here. Washington played Washington football, balanced on both running and passing. They're efficient. Kyler Murray getting player of the game was efficient and they controlled the ball. This was a typical Redskin type of victory. So, Dean, what do you think?
The Redskins played very well, and all of what you're saying is true. But I think there is some post Super Bowl hangover here. The Chargers only completed 2 out of 10 third down conversions. They punted 6 times. They put up a total of 281 yards of offense with only 49 yards of rushing. I mean, they have one of the best running backs in the game, and they only, of course, we can talk about Barry Sanders later. That's another issue, or the same issue, actually. But, they gained 49 yards rushing. You're not going to beat the Redskins gaining 49 yards of rushing and punting 6 times. So I think that the Redskins were pretty dominant in this game, and, it looks like, did the Chargers team even get off the team bus to go to the stadium for this game?
Ooh, that's savage. That's a good question.
I don't know. I'll get one of our PNFL news anchors to go check that out.
Okay. Next game that we have on the list is Las Vegas hosting Detroit, and Detroit taking this game 26-11. We're going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, Las Vegas was looking pretty good in the first half, and if I remember right, they had a lead. It might have been 11-8, I think, or something. But they fell apart in the second half. The offense for Las Vegas just didn't produce at all. And again, Detroit had 15 third downs. That's a lot, but they converted 60% of them. Total of 374 yards. A pretty solid effort overall by Detroit.
All right, Mitch.
Well, I think the most impressive thing for Detroit was the fact they were 4 for 4 on field goals. You take those 12 points away, and this is a much different ball game. That's deep analysis right there. No, I really thought Detroit was going to stub their toe. So hats off to Detroit here after the big win the week before. I was kind of thinking they would kind of fall back, but nope, 2 in a row. And we'll see if they can keep it rolling here in week 5.
Okay. Next game, we have the New York Giants taking on Chicago. And Chicago ended up taking this game 37-13. We're going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, another big offensive game for Chicago, but this time it was done through the ground or on the ground. nearly 200 yards rushing, which, Chicago is not like they're not, haven't shown the ability to run the ball. But I always think of Chicago as an aerial air attack team, but they really ran it up on the ground this week. They keep playing, quarterback, musical chairs. We're back to Sam Darnold this week. He wins player of the game for some odd reason, I guess the 3 touchdowns, but definitely was not efficient in his passing. But, another big Chicago win. What do you think, Dean?
Well, I think the momentum went to Chicago early on in this game. If you look at the first 2 possessions by the Giants, they moved the ball very well. And if I remember right, they finished those 2 possessions, one with a missed field goal. So they marched all the way down the field and kick a field goal on 4th down, and it was missed. It was a short one. So, they come up with nothing. And then I believe it was the next possession was intercepted in the end zone. So Chicago started off 14-0. And they really didn't look back after that. And they kept the momentum through the rest of the game. So I think sometimes some early missed opportunities can really set the momentum in a game. And, in that case, the Giants moved the ball down the field well in the first 2 drives and end up with 0 points and missed field goal and interception. So they didn't recover from that.
All right. Next game we have is San Francisco taking on Indy, and Indy taking this game 17-14. We're going to start with you on this one, Dean.
Yeah, I believe if I remember it, I picked this upset, and I knew it would be close. San Francisco seems to win close games and lose close games, and this was, a loss by 3 points to Indianapolis. And, it looked like at the end that San Francisco might have a chance, but they just didn't make that comeback.
Yes, they did. Go ahead, Dean. Go ahead, Mitch.
No, here's a pop quiz for everybody. So listeners out there, here you go. Pop quiz for you. Which team in the PNFL has the number 1 overall defense as far as yards given up, the number 1 overall defense in scoring as far as points allowed here this year in the league? Anyone want to take a wild guess who the number 1 defense and yardage as well as points allowed are? Anybody? Yes, you are correct. It is the Indianapolis Colts, the best defense in the league. So why would anyone expect, the 49ers to have scored more than 14 points on these guys? So great job, to old Coach Tim Hoover and those, those hustling Hoosiers there in Indianapolis.
All right. Let's see. Dean, what do you have to say about this?
He's already.
Oh, he already did? I'm looking at this. I'm looking. Okay, I see what I'm looking at. I am looking at the next game. Look.
Yeah. I entertained you so much you lost your track of thought.
Yes, I did. I did. All right, guys, listen. There's Charlie cut my budget for the intern, so I would normally have another intern here to double duty, to help me out here. No. And the intern's not here, so I'm doing it all by myself.
Medication. Just blame it on the medication.
I'll blame it on the medication too. I am dealing with the weather change up here in the Midwest. So for my other Michigander, I'm sure he knows how it feels when we lose 40 degrees in temperature in less than 12 hours. So, if you're out in the Midwest, you know what I'm talking about. So, okay, moving on here. Next game that we have, second to last, we have Anaheim taking on Minnesota, and it was a low-scoring game with Anaheim taking that game 13-3. Mitch.
Every time I'm like, yep, the Barney train is on the right track. And live, something happens and they get derailed. After I think averaging over 30 points a game, the first three games this week, three against Anaheim. Who, no disrespect to Anaheim, I've been a Rams fan here last few seasons, but Rams have been giving up points left and right this year. So I will say I was shocked that the score ended up the way it did. Not necessarily that, Anaheim get upset, but that Minnesota would only score 3 points. But Dean, what do you think?
Well, I was not shocked at all. I told you last week that Barney's comeback tour was going to meet a bump in the road against Anaheim. I told you that Anaheim was due for a win. And all of these things happened, and the Rams played excellent defense, only gave up 3 points. And I'm not surprised at all. This is what I know I'm wrong on a lot of these predictions, but this one I did call this one.
Yeah. I will say I know that our friends in Minnesota are probably upset the fact that they did miss 2 field goals in this game. Not that would have put them over Anaheim, but that would have definitely changed the complexion of the game.
Yeah, my only mistake was to not make this game the lead pipe lock of the week as opposed to the one I did make a lead pipe lock.
Yes.
So, all right, we are coming up to the last game, and actually, because it is a intra-host game, we're going to let Mitch take the lead in on this one, and he's going to do the intro. So, Mitch, it is all on you, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Well, now that I have got the microphone, let me just say, listeners, glad to have you out there. Glad to have sponsors, Bud Light and others out there with us today. I do want to jump into this Seattle-Atlanta game, though, because, you could not have picked a better game to watch this week than the Seattle-Atlanta game. It had everything in it. It had stumbles, it had bumbles, it had interceptions, it had receptions. But at the end of the day, it really was kind of, I guess, entertaining to watch, because in my mind I'm hearing both Dean and Mark screaming certain things at the TV screen when they're watching it. But I would say I've had this as my lead pipe lock last week. I did pick Seattle to win, so thank you, Mark, for getting that victory there for us. And I would say that the defense for Seattle. It was a little shaky there at the beginning. Some big plays. Atlanta was able to get some defenders behind the secondary. But after, a few initial, big plays, man, the Seattle defense just shut down Atlanta, especially the Atlanta running game there. And so, congratulations to Mark for getting that first victory. But let's hear from these coaches out here and see what they think. So let's go to the visiting coach, and that would be Coach Chambers from Atlanta. Coach, what were your thoughts on the games, and what do you think your team needs to do to get ready for next week?
Well, I will say in my 23 seasons in the league, this is the absolute, by far, worst offensive performance I've seen from any team I've coached in these 23 seasons. I mean, the 13 points, if you look at it, the touchdown was scored basically on set up by a big third down conversion. If that had not taken place, if Seattle's defense had shut that down, that score wouldn't have happened. The 2 field goals, similar, the same story. So the Seattle defense was 3 major pass completions away from getting a shutout in this game. That's how bad the offense was. Much worse than that 13 points look like. We look at the completion. Trey Lance was 11 completions out of 34 yards. I mean, that's terrible. 32.4% passing efficiency. I mean, that's disastrous. The running game was terrible. Total of 59 yards total. Barry Sanders had one attempt for -6 yards. That's terrible. Now, the other thing in this game, Seattle threw 2 interceptions in the game, but in both of those instances, normally that's an opportunity for the offense of the other team to take advantage of that. My offense went 3 and out and punted both of those times. So those interceptions cost Seattle 0 points. This was just an absolute disastrous result. Much worse looking than the score makes it look like. 9-point loss doesn't look that bad. The offense was atrocious.
Well, being in the league now for 11 years, I have definitely seen your team with some bad games. So if you say this is the worst offensive performance that you've had, I will take your word for it out there, because it was not good. It was not good, and I think if Los Angeles is having a hangover from the Super Bowl, I think both of y'all. I think Atlanta is in the AA meeting with Los Angeles right now. But anyhow, let's go over and see the winning coach of the Battle of the Hosts this week, getting his record to 1-3, making himself feel like he's still alive for the playoffs. Mark, what you got?
Well, I will say that it definitely was a Herculean task to try to get this victory. I spent a lot of time trying to fix some of the problems that's been plaguing my team. Most importantly, the sacks. And I can say that for this game, it was nice to see Wilson walk off the field with a clean jersey this time, because there were 0 sacks, 0 yards, any loss for sacks. So that was awesome. The 2 interceptions, yes, that definitely hurt us. I'm glad that the defense finally showed up and was able to show up and shut that down. So when the interceptions came about, nothing was lost on there. So it was a 0-sum game. So that was good. I enjoyed that. 8 for 16 on 3rd downs for 50%. That was good. The time that I went for it on 4th down, completed that one. The running game was good. We finally was able to run the ball. So that was another good thing out there. So it kind of kept a balance between the passing and the running. But definitely going up against Atlanta, I definitely had to sit there and really try to figure out what can I do to minimize the mistakes that's been plaguing us the first couple of weeks of the season. So hopefully this could be a start for something new. I mean, big task coming up with top teams in the league coming up. I think got Chicago coming up next. So, but we're happy about this victory. We took this victory. We enjoyed it, but we got to get right back to work, because we got another big task coming up next week. So overall, I was pleased with the performance, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Well, Mark, one of the things that definitely you proved is that when you don't give up 8 sacks in a game, your offense plays pretty well. So being that you've got a tall order against Chicago, who I think they're still trying to get grass stains out of the quarterback's jersey from that game earlier in the season, I think using this formula of not giving up sacks is going to be critical. So I know we'll talk more about that later in the show. But congratulations to Mark for a victory. Get out there 1-3. Dean, I'm sure you're going to get things turned around. Got both of you all at 1-3 on the season, so it's going to be fun to see in the NFC where you all can get over the next 3 quarters of the season. So, Mark, I'll turn the show back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. So, as we come to the conclusion of that first segment, as we said, there were some good games there, some upsets out there, and there's some teams out there that finally got their first victory. Right now, there's only one team that's out there, but I believe they're going to be getting their win real soon. So keep your head up. So as we move into the second segment of the show, as we talked about it early on, we're looking at this season as we're going forward to turn that first corner. And I guess the topic we're going to talk about is early season stats, where the teams line up, rushing, passing, which teams impressed us so far, which teams have disappointed us, and teams that we think that are on the rise right now. So we're going to go ahead and start this one off with Dean. So Dean, where do you see the league at the quarter turn, and what impressed you the most? What disappointed you the most? And what stats really impressed you so far?
Well, I think what we're seeing, I think one of the major stories I'm seeing so far in this quarter of the season, these first 4 games, is last season's 2 Super Bowl participants are collectively 3 wins and 5 losses. That's Atlanta at 1-3 and the Chargers at 2-2. I think both of those teams are definitely not headed in the same direction they were at the end of last season. You see a number of other teams that are 2-2 in the AFC West. You expect that. Pittsburgh is 0-4. They're the best 0-4 team in the league. They're going to win some games. The Jets are undefeated, the only undefeated team in the league. That's not surprising. Chicago and Washington are 3-1. And I think the team that might break out of this pack and compete for a playoff spot, believe it or not, will be Detroit. They're 2-2 right now, and they win the next few weeks. They might have some momentum and might be. We'll see what's happening with the Giants. They're 2-2, and they face a tough task playing the Jets this coming weekend. So this might be a tough break for them.
All right, so let's get Mitch's take on this, and I want to talk about some of these other stats that's out there. Mitch, what do you think? Where do you think league's at right now?
Well, I'll tell you what. First, let me just say the state of our league is strong right now. I think we're all having, I think most of all, but not all, most of us are having a good time right now, quarter through the season. Not everybody's wins are where they want it to be, but I think we're all having a good time with everything. I would say the big story for me this first quarter of the season, Indianapolis. I mean, the hustling Hoosiers are out there. I can't even get them all out of my mouth all right. But anyway, Tim's got his team playing the best they've been able to play. I guess in the season and a half, 2 seasons he's been in the league, out there 3-1 to start the season. So, like I said, not just by fluke, but I mean, number 1 overall defense in yards allowed and in points allowed. So definitely that's been a bright spot for the season out there across the league. If Pittsburgh is the best 0-4 team in the league, then the New York Jets are the best 4-0 team in the league. I mean, my goodness. I think they're, you look at what they're doing, they're basically tied with Indianapolis for the best scoring defense in the league. But then when you look at the points, they're scoring 138, 140 points right now. Golly, y'all. That's some good stuff. Now, I do know that 60 of that did come in one game, but still, the Jets are looking good with, Mac Jones at quarterback. I think that's the other story too. This is first time we haven't seen, Derek Carr or a Jake Locker right in the league for a long time, right? And so, it's interesting to see how Thomas has been maneuvering the squad from that standpoint. And then, you got other teams out there that are having, good starts. Chicago and Washington, you would expect typically out there, out running in front. I've been impressed with New Orleans. I know they've had a couple of games where things didn't go their way, but I think overall they're playing so solid football. I think are going to be right there in that playoff mix like they were last year. I've been, happy with my team after, starting out the gates, in the mud with against Minnesota. I've been able to get things rolling, so I'm feeling pretty good. But kind of like what Dean said, you start looking at some of these 2-2 teams that are out there and which ones might begin to separate themselves from the rest of the group. Um, I say New Orleans is one. I think it's going to be a factor here in this second half of the season. I'm not giving up on Los Angeles quite yet. I mean, I remember last year, I think they had a losing record, or somewhere around mid-season or close to 500 mid-season, and obviously was able to get on the run the second half of the year. So I'm not throwing in the towel on them yet, but they definitely got a few things they need to iron out on that piece of it. And I kind of like you said, Detroit, definitely looked good this last couple of games. We'll see if they can keep it going, but it's a young roster, so if they can mature quickly, it might be it definitely could be an interesting second half of the season. When I think about some of these new coaches, I am interested to see how Pittsburgh does. All joking aside, I know they're 0-4. Talk about being the best 0-4 team. Well, there's only one 0-4 team, but I think that defense is good stuff, and so I wouldn't be surprised, this last 12 games of the season for them to be somewhere in the 500 range, over the next 12 games. Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if they went 0-12. But I think they're going to win some games for sure. I think Vegas is going to win some games out there. Um, so we'll see. Mark, what's on your mind?
Well, what I'm seeing here right now is, again, with Pittsburgh being at 0-4, they're the only 0-4 team out there, but I like what they're doing out there. I think it's just getting their feet wet, getting into this league, seeing how things go in this league, because coming into this league is not easy. It is not easy because you have some coaches that have some serious experience out there, and you really got to knuckle down and really jump into it. It's fun to plan it out, but when you go up against some of those top tier teams, I mean, it ain't no joke. So I'd say for those people out, for the new coaches out there, keep plugging away. I'm still plugging away as well. So you're going to get there, and you'll see it. It'll feel good when you start taking some of these teams out, and you know that your game is up to par when you start going for some of these guys and getting your victories. What I see, as I mentioned early on, I think early in the preseason, and I think like the first couple of weeks, I knew the Jets were going to come back. I still say last season was a fluke. He was off his game a little bit, but he's definitely coming back and saying, hold up, this is still my house. Everyone else, you're just visitors here. So he's definitely on his game. Indy is surprising me. Coach Hoover. Definitely going to make some noise this season. I think Coach Mox is going to get things turned around as well. Little stumbled right there, but it's that same momentum that I had. I think it was either last season or season before, where I started out thinking, "Oh, okay, I'm doing great." Yeah, it was last season. I thought I was doing great. Then I got a little complacent. Then I went on that 5-game losing streak, and it was all downhill from there. So once you get that taste, you can't sit back. You got to keep your foot on the gas and just keep going. Because the more you win, the more people are going to be coming after you, and they're going to be playing even harder than you. So you got to kind of step it up. If you're not winning that many games and you're below the radar, you can sneak in. But once you get to a certain point, you're on the radar. And when you're on the radar, they take notice of you. And that's when you really got to knuckle down on it. Washington is Washington. They're going to do their thing. Chicago is Chicago. They're going to do their thing. I think the Giants are going to kick it up a notch. They always do. Detroit, I think, is going to turn around. Dean in Atlanta, I don't see that 1-3 sitting there that long. He's going to end on the upside. I have no doubt about that. Charlie's going to do Charlie's thing. I was talking trash about Charlie early on, but this is from the coaching side. I think Charlie's going to make some noise as well. New Orleans is going to make some noise as well. Hopefully Seattle can turn around a little bit, and go better. And I think Anaheim is going to step it up as well. So I think the competition.
So Mark, if I'm hearing you right, every team is going to now finish above 500. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know what? I would say
everybody's going to be 9-7.
I would not say that, but what I will say is that, and I'm not trying to have rainbow sprinkles and fairy dust, but I do believe it could easily turn into a knockdown, drag out league towards the end. There may be one or two teams that's going to be sitting above on the mountain looking down at everybody that's going to be fighting well below it. And I think it might have been last season where guys just getting knocked around left and right. I remember, it was, because the AFC West, it was a bloodbath last season. It was a bloodbath. And I could see this being another season where, it could be a balance and even out, 8-8, 7-9, something like that. Teams can, and there'll be maybe one or two teams that's going to be above everybody else. It's possible.
I have to remind you of one thing, Mark. No matter how much you think that everyone's going to step it up and move it up to the next level or whatever you want to call it, every week there are 9 teams that are going to win and there are 9 teams that are going to lose. It's a zero-sum game. It literally is. So no matter how much everyone is stepping it up, unless we have ties, 9 teams are losing every week. And, you do the math, 9 teams in the next 10 weeks, that's 90 losses that are going to be awarded. Someone has to get those losses no matter how much everyone is
agreed, but the competition is going to be fierce. And a team that you might think is going to win is going to lose. I mean, how many upsets have we seen so far this season? And it's early. So and I know it sounds like, oh, he's just trying to play both sides. I believe that the competition level is going to be even tighter than it was last season, with the exception of maybe 3 teams. And I'm not trying to put a target on them, but I see Jets, Washington, Chicago, KC probably as well. You guys are going to have targets. Everybody else is going to be fighting. And I think it's going to be intense. I really do.
Tell me which 4 teams are most likely going to be at the bottom. There's 4 teams that are likely to 4 teams that are likely going to be at the bottom.
4 teams that are going to be at the bottom.
Let's just say the bottom 4 division in the division. Who's going to finish last in each division?
Ooh. Okay. Before I give my 4, I will apologize to each one of these teams. Again, it's my opinion, but opinions are like a-holes. Everybody got one. Starting off,
expressed on Mark's show are those of his own.
Yes. From the East, from AFC East, I would say Jacksonville's going to be. They're going to have to. They may end up on the losing end this season. Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh, I think that they're going to win some games. I think their first year in the league is going to be a wake up call. They're going to have some struggles, but I think they're going to get some victories. But I think they're going to end up in last place this season. Let's go to the West. Of course, I'm being upbeat as always. I'm thinking this is going to be a toss-up. I would say either Anaheim or maybe Frisco. And I know that's a big, big step. And I know people are going to be like, oh, really? What about Seattle? I think Seattle's going to turn around a little bit, and they're not going to be in the bottom.
And this is nothing against these teams that I picked, but I think it could either be
Anaheim or Frisco. Over in the East, I like New York and I like Detroit, but between the two, I'm thinking, don't get mad at me. I think New York may be on the out in the cellar. I do not believe. I don't believe Dean's going to end in last place. I just don't believe it. So, and again, this is not a slight against any one of the coaches. I think we all have great. They're all good coaches, but like you said, someone has to win and someone has to lose, and those are my opinions on it. So,
Hey, Mark,
now that you put a
Mark,
target on my back, Mitch, what are you picking?
No, I say to make you so that you're not out there alone. I'll give you who my four last place teams I believe are going to be. I'll join you. That way you're not out here by yourself. I'd say the AFC East right now. I would agree. I think Jacksonville's probably going to end up finishing fourth in that division. I really have a tough time between Las Vegas and Pittsburgh. I'm gonna go and say Pittsburgh just because I know that their roster has a little bit more experience on it. If Donovan actually plays Dak Prescott, the number one quarterback in the league, versus Joey Lawrence like he did this past week. But anyway, I'm going to say for the NFC West, I'm going to say Anaheim is going to finish last in the West, and in the NFC East, just because I want to add some motivation to my co-host over here, I'm going to say Atlanta finishes last in the East.
Oh, so from being in the first place in last season to the last place in this season. Okay, Dean, I want to hear your comments on this.
I'm going to actually agree with what he said on the NFC teams. I think the interesting story is in the AFC, and it's namely the West. I agree in Jacksonville. But in the AFC West, it is neither going to be Pittsburgh nor Las Vegas. Here's the shocker. The Chargers are going to be last. Both Super Bowl teams are going to fall out of postseason convention and straight to the basement.
Wow, so that hangover is really going to get to him, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I did not expect that one.
There you go, Mark. Now you're not out there alone.
All right, I'm not on that branch out there by myself.
Peppers thrown at us. There you go.
All right.
We can revisit this after 8 weeks and see where all of these things are going.
Yeah,
in 8 weeks, I'm in last place. Jacksonville is beating the Jets, and
All right.
It's first in the West.
All right, we'll do that.
And it's time to wake up.
Okay. Well, now that I've thrown my rainbow sprinkles and fairy dust out there saying everybody's a winner, everybody gets a participation trophy. All right, we're going to pivot over to the last segment here. This is our little pick'em side. So remember, each one of you guys has a lead pipe lock. Obviously, Rich Sporting Book. Go ahead.
Correct. When did we become so politically correct?
It's the meds that I'm taking. I'm drinking a hot toddy right now, so trying to deal with this cold. So maybe it's the hot toddy that's kicking in.
It's ever since Mark got that sponsorship from Bud Light. He's got.
No, I don't do. Look,
a little sensitive.
I haven't drank Bud Light since I got back from Germany back in 1990. I was drinking too much German beer. I can't drink Bud Light anymore. So I am a whiskey guy. Woodford Reserve, or Osbach Brandy, or the rum that's in my hot toddy right now. I don't do beer anymore. I've let that go by the wayside. All right, so we are going to go ahead and kick off the predictions coming up for this week. Again, Rich Sporting Books, since I cooked the possum. We're going to start this off. First one on the list, we have Kansas City taking on the Colts. Sporting Books is giving the Chiefs 10.5. And we are going to start with Dean on this one. So who are you going on with this one with, Dean?
I think Indianapolis will play this game tough and play good defense, but the Chiefs are going to be effective on offense, and they're going to come out with a win and cover the spread.
Okay. What do you got over there, Coach?
I mean, this is probably the toughest team I've had to prepare for in my 11 seasons. I mean, number one in yards allowed, number one in points allowed. I mean, Baker Mayfield and Travis Etienne, they're trying to get the trainers to sign off on them, being inactive this week. They don't want any part of that Indianapolis defense. But I told them, look, I mean, I've got Mason Rudolph sitting in the back, so we're going to be on the field. But I think it's going to be tough. I can't pick against my own guys, but I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, this is in Indianapolis's defense. It looks like, the 85 Bears out there on the field. I still don't know how I'm going to score, but I'll figure something out before Saturday.
All right, Coach Holtz. I am going to, I'm going with KC on this. I'm going to start it off early, guys. I'm calling KC as my lead pipe. A little bit more pressure there.
Oh, geez. Now the added pressure of that. Golly, man.
Yep, I'm starting it out the gate. So I am
the last week. He's returning the favor.
I'm returning the favor. There you go. There's some extra motivation for you. There's the extra motivation, because that gave me motivation last week. It's your motivation this week.
Mark, my only motivation is the schedule on the date.
There you go. All right. Next game that we have is New Orleans hosting LA. And the sports books is giving it to LA a very tight window by 3.5. We're going to start with you on this one, Mitch.
Well, I've said it a few times, so I'm not going to stop now. I like New Orleans, and so I'm going to pick them. It's a tight spread anyway, but I'm going to pick New Orleans to win this game, and we'll see if LA proves me wrong. So that's my pick.
All right, Dean.
Well, I think we're talking about a couple issues here. One, we're talking about the Super Bowl hangover that has been discussed, and I just have a feeling a little bit too much Bud Light is going to be consumed. And the Saints, I think, are going to be strong in this game. I don't buy that spread at all. And this is, by the way, my lead pipe lock of the week. The Saints are going to pull off the upset, beat the defending Super Bowl champions here.
All right. I think not to pile on LA, but I think New Orleans is going to take this one as well. I think they still got a couple more AA meetings to go to get themselves straight from celebratory situation or being overly celebratory from the win last season. So I am picking New Orleans on this one as well. Next game on the list, we have New England taking on taking on Las Vegas. They are giving the Patriots 4.5. We're going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, I think the slide here continues as well. New England is going to lose a third game in a row. The Raiders are going to bounce back from last week's game, and they're going to win this game. I'm calling for another upset. Raiders win.
All right. Mitch.
I'm going to go the opposite direction on this one. Not that New England is, blowing the doors off here. They've lost a couple in a row, but I feel like they're in a little bit better position to win this week. So I'm going to go with New England.
Okay. I think Coach Mox is going to turn around. I think he's going to knuckle down after those 2 losses and be like, all right, I got to right the ship. So I am going to go and pick New England on this one as well. So next one, we have Pittsburgh going into Minneapolis to take on the Vikings. And they're giving the Vikings 6.5. Mitch.
All right, everybody lean in. This is my lead pipe lock of the week. I believe, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, I am 4-0 this season on lead pipe locks. So feel free to go ahead, write the checks, send them in, take out that 4th mortgage, pay off your kids' college debt. This is the game right here. Minnesota, Pittsburgh. Minnesota, heavy favorite here. We know Pittsburgh is the best 0-4 team in the league, best 0-4 team since that 0-16 Detroit team years ago. All that being said, though, I don't care how good the 0-4 team is. I'm going with Barney to finally get the train going again. And Minnesota's going to win this game. And we're going to be purple raining it all night in Minnesota. So Minnesota for the win.
Okay, so they're going to be playing Prince music and they're going to be doing Let's Go Crazy, huh?
That's right.
All right.
If they lose to Pittsburgh after losing to Anaheim,
They'll be singing Purple Rain.
Let's Go Crazy. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Dean, you are up next.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is the best 0-4 team. They are going to win some games, but not this week. It's going to be Minnesota winning, and they're going to party like it's 1999.
Okay. We're going with the Prince mantras here, little setups here. Oh, okay.
Get a little bit more vet, Mark. What's your pick? Maybe wear your raspberry beret while you're over here up your plays.
I really want to pick this one team. I really do, but I just I don't think it's going to happen this week. So I got to go with Minnesota as well on that one. Sorry, Pitt. You're going to get there. I just don't think it's going to be this week. Maybe next week. I just don't think it's going to be this week.
If Minnesota loses, the Dubs will cry.
Yeah, most definitely. We will all cry. Next game, we have Washington taking on Jacksonville. They are giving Jacksonville 13.5. Big spread. We're going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, this one's easy to pick. It would have been too easy to make it a lead pipe lock. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Jets score against Jacksonville yet again, but it'll be Washington. Easily a Washington win here. Oh. Easily coming.
All right, Mitch.
This is one of these where I'm like, Dean, I'm like, okay, you look at this, and I go, all right, yep, Washington big. And then I think, just every time when I think that, that's when the other team usually sneaks up and gets the upset. But I think Washington I don't think Washington is going to take Jacksonville lightly, so I'm going to go with the Skins.
Okay. And I'll keep it simple. Going with Washington as well. So, there. In and out, done. Next game. Battle of the Big Apple. We have the Giants going in to play the Jets, with the Jets being the host team. We are going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, if this was week 3, I would have said, hey, I think the Giants are going to have a chance for the upset. But after 2 losses in a row and seeing that crazy pinball machine that the Jets have going on, I got to go with the Jets.
Going with the Jets on this one? All right. Dean, what do you have?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to get indicted in New York this week, but I think the Jets are definitely going to be too much for the Giants. Jets are going to win this one and cover the spread.
I have to concur with you guys. I think the Jets are on a mission this season, and they are taking no prisoners. So anyone who has them on your schedule, grab the women and children because they're going to be on a roll. They're on a mission. Next game, we have Atlanta hosting Detroit, and the Sporting Books is making this a pick'em game. So we're going to start with Mitch on this, and then we're going to pivot over to the coach. Mitch, what do you have on this one?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've already picked Atlanta to finish last in the East, so I guess I have no choice. I'm going to go with Detroit.
All right. Coach Chambers, what are your boys going to do this week?
That's a good question. And until I see that this team can actually play some offense, you have to keep in mind if you can't play offense, you can't win because you can't win without scoring. I think objectively I have to say that Detroit should be favored here.
Oh, you are picking against your team. Okay.
Is this the Pete Rose pick of the week?
I was just getting ready to say that.
There's no money involved here.
Okay. This is a first, picking against your team.
Shoeless Dean Chambers over here.
Yeah, you know what? That mark that, circle that one, guys.
If offense is shoes, then I guess I'm wearing it.
Circle that one, guys. I'm going in a different direction on this. I think that what happened last week will be corrected. I think that you're going to definitely do some strategizing on this one, and I am picking Atlanta to bounce back off of that and get that second win. So I'm going with ATL on this one. Next game, we have Anaheim hosting San Francisco, and they are giving 49ers 6.5 on this one. Dean.
Yeah, I kind of want to take Anaheim here, but I just don't think they're going to do it. San Francisco is going to win and cover the spread.
All right. Mitch.
Well, based on our earlier conversations, this is your battle of the basement game. So I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with Anaheim. I'm going to go with Anaheim. Why not?
Okay. I'm picking Frisco on this one. It's a hard way to go on this one, but I'm going to go with San Francisco on this one. I'm projecting this one. Last game. The Cardinals are hosting the Seahawks. Now, I want to say that this is a typo from the Sporting Books because they are giving the Cardinals 20.5. Yes, I said 20.5. I have never seen anything that high, but they are projecting the Cardinals to take this one. So we are going to finish this one off with Mitch. Go for it. What do you got?
Well, maybe, I don't know. Have you watched any of the Seattle games this year, Mark? I don't know if you would be so strongly against the spread if you've watched any Seattle games.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've lived it. Trust me.
Just kidding. No, I'm gonna go with Chicago on this game. I think Seattle will play better than the 20.5 points, but
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, I think that spread is crack smoking nuts. I think Seattle is going to be very competitive here, but not quite get it done. I think Chicago win, but definitely not cover the spread.
All right. So I believe in team confidence. I've been watching Ted Lasso, so I'm in believing. I got the poster set up for Believe, and they had our number the first time, but I think that we kind of finally got out of the blocks. I do not believe in the spread, and I believe that Seattle is going to pull off an upset. And I know, stop laughing, stop spitting out your juices and your drinks and everything else. I am picking the Seahawks on this one. Go Hawks.
Well, if Dean said, that Jets had just scored again on Jacksonville, if that's the case, then Chicago, just sacked your quarterback again. So
not happening. Not happening. So that's where we're at. Bite your tongue, young man. So as we come to wrap this show up, I think, on a quick sidebar, guys, we started this show out. We said we were only going to do 30 minutes, and then it went from 30 to 35. Then it went from 35 to around 40, 45. Then it went from 45 to around 50. We just eclipsed an hour. So hopefully you guys you're getting your planning out and you're getting your stuff set up. I know that when Rich runs the games, he's commenting that he's listening to the show, so kind of keeps him kind of busy. So again, guys, like you said early on, as long as it's entertaining, we just keep the tape rolling. So we want to try and, I guess now, should our goal be to try to keep it under an hour, guys, or just...
We probably need to give the listeners a little of their time back and maybe get it back closer to 45, but we'll let the listeners decide. Let Mark know. Are we yapping too much, or are y'all enjoying what you're hearing? Let us know.
Yeah, either put it in the forum or put it in the emails to let us know. Is it too long? Should we shorten it down, or should we just, if the topic is fun, just keep the tape rolling? So.
If you say we're trying to keep it under an hour, before we know it, it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and get it back under about 40 minutes or so. That's what we're gonna try and go with. So, all right. So as we come to wrap this up, going into week 5, wishing everyone the best of luck out there this week. So as we come to wind it up, any final comments on any of the topics today, Dean?
No, just good luck to everyone in their games this weekend, and we'll see if everyone's going to continue to raise it to the next level.
All right, Mitch.
Well, a few things I learned from today's show. One is that you have to score points to win. That was something I wrote down, something very important. 2, everyone's going to finish with at least 9 wins this season.
Ha, ha, ha.
And then the third thing is, the only thing left to do is let's get